Our history with InWin case reviews has not always been positive. But let's not continue this negative train, because today the InWin 3-3 changes the conversation for the better with an exciting new mid-tower priced at $89. There are elements of new and the old in here, with a perfect balance of what builders want these days from a modern enclosure. I love the combination of pure boxy frame with matte metal surface, this very cool ventilation opening on the right side, and a full tempered glass panel on the left that is tinted, and unlike many other glass panels, this one's very thin, which is awesome because it reduces the weight of the glass to implement a genius toolless attachment. No screws required, just push the lever down to release the panel. It's a little bit stiff, but it's super convenient. The other side panel removes in a similar way, but with 2 thumb screws that stay with the panel. The front I/O is standard here, power, reset audio, and 4 USB ports that have blue illumination, which looks pretty awesome, but perhaps it's a little bit too bright. And for those wondering what's up with that red handle on our sample on the side panel, that's actually supposed to be black. Now, just like the front, the top is solid, and InWin is taking a very different approach here with airflow inside the 303, with the power supply installed on the top on its side, followed by an ATX motherboard layout with 7 PCI slots and a rear 120mm fan, which should have been included, by the way, it's just missing from our sample. The interior has a very different chamber separation. The main motherboard area is fully open, but someone should tell InWin about rubber grommets, as all of the cable cutouts are bare. Plus, what's up with the lack of thumb screws for the PCI brackets? This is just weird change from what we're normally used to. For airflow, you can populate triple 120mm fans at the bottom, and if using a micro ATX or a mini ATX motherboard, you can fit a 360 rad in here. A dust filter spans this entire area, which is removable from the side. Thank you for that. And it's awesome to see just a small gap between the filter and the metal frame, so it doesn't interfere with any fan screws. But moving to the top fan mount, this one is interesting because it's sideways and it's meant to exhaust air through the back side panel, and it will support triple 120mm fans and up to a 360mm radiator. It's strange to not see any 140mm fan support inside the 303, especially since there is room for them. Now, most people will still question the functionality of this sideways exhaust, especially since the power supply will block airflow of one of the fans. But this is best shown with a full system assembled, which no doubt looks very unique. I'm sure that those in love with the boxy S340 might consider the 303 for its more interesting but similar character. And overall, I'm pretty happy with the assembly process and cable management. With an ATX board, the bottom fan configuration will restrict access to all those cables at the bottom, which is why I didn't install any. There are 2 cutouts right underneath the power supply for passing cables below into the main chamber, and 1 larger main cable opening in the middle of the motherboard, which is a little too far away from the board itself. I wish it was a bit closer. There are 2 SSD drive caddies that face each other, but a 3rd spot is available for the SSDs to be in the same orientation. So a few things to keep in mind with such fan configuration that you see. One is that you have no direct intake unless you install fans at the bottom. And with my system, we have a negative air pressure, so more exhaust than intake, actually no intake whatsoever. So that filter at the bottom will get quite full. But I love the look of LED fans that are all populated at the top. Plus, depending on your lighting configuration, the lighting may just barely peek through the ventilation on the other side panel, which could look really cool and something to play around with. Now, with the power supply sitting right in front of one of the fans, it will help to cool the power supply, which is good. And say you install a 240mm all-in-one cooler in the top slot, the power supply fan will be part of this whole exhaust system from the main chamber. You have 3.5 inches of width until you hit the side panel and the top, so push-pull is possible, but not with thicker radiators, and you could install fans on the power supply side. You just have to work around the cables. And this entire area in front of the power supply is most likely to be underutilized, and I find it quite wasteful. This could have been a perfect spot for an optional 5¼ inch drive bay. Wiring everything with custom cables was simple, but there are no dedicated cable tie hoops. Why does InWin chooses to ignore the ease of cable management, especially since this is their frame design? This could have easily incorporated some type of built-in hoops, but otherwise you can sort of collect all the cables right outside the power supply. For storage, there are two 3.5-inch drive caddies that support SSDs as well. They are a little bit difficult to wire, and I actually wouldn't mind having the ability to install them in the main compartment somewhere around the motherboard, but I also understand the potential compatibility mess that this would introduce. So if you're sticking with stock fan configuration, the top area being open like that, it's not the most attractive of presentations on the interior, so fan installation here is definitely recommended both for airflow and aesthetics. And in my time with the 303, I've gotten to appreciate what InWin is trying to achieve here, giving users a gorgeous enclosure with an interesting sideways airflow approach. The build is solid, tempered glass is awesome, but they need to do something about cable management because it could be so much better. But aside from that, the 303 is a refreshing entry under $100 and deserves our Damn Innovative award. And that concludes this review. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.